So, roll call, is there a certain order we do it in?
Just
Okay, Mike Wargula,
here.
Jolene Schatzinger.
Here.
Gary Page.
Here.
Barry Vandenbrink.
Here.
Colin Sorensen, here. Doug Iverson.
Here.
And Jonathan Gatsky.
Here.
Do I call your names too?
You just say chief and deputy chief
Chief and
president.
deputy chief. We're all here, we have a quorum. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Jonathan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Gary. All those in favor, please signify by saying
Can I ask a quick
aye.
que- The one that we received before, it's the one I have in front of me, there was no changes, correct?
No?
Okay, I just had one earlier that was message emailed to me. I get it sent to me.
Yes, everyone does.
Good. And then I saw one here. Right?
Oh, I don't.
One of them's from the, one of them's.
Oh, I thought this was the, I'm
June's.
sorry.
One's
I was gonna
I
tell you,
thought this
I
was
was
the
gonna
new,
say,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no,
Sorry.
I made the statement.
Did I give you something wrong?
Yeah, that's June, not July.
Oops.
So they got June as well.
Well, you guys should have all got your packets. What, I got one.
I didn't get a pick.
No, this must be the agenda.
I sent the agenda to Karen,
Here.
and Karen's emailed it
I
out.
have one too.
And then you should have got all these.
I did not get,
That's-
oh, was that in there?
It's usually attached
I
to
didn't
the
print it
same
out.
thing.
All right, that's true.
Do you want me to print one out for you?
I have the World Berries.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can't- I
Share.
can't- I can't see it anyway.
Yeah, he can't see anyway. I can't talk, he can't see, so here we go. So did we approve the agenda?
We didn't, no.
We did approve the agenda.
We didn't all say
Oh,
aye.
okay.
I said
All those in
aye.
favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, secretary's report. Doug, do you want to share this with us?
Sure. There are no minutes written down because the machine either didn't work, start it properly, or operator error on my end, and when I shut it off, I didn't save it. So we don't have any minutes,
I'll reconstruct them from last.
but we can get them, or if it was was it recorded last time?
Yeah,
I pressed on there, record, and it was recording.
I screwed up, and so whenever they post it to Facebook, I will watch it, do the minutes, bring it forward next month too, okay,
Oh,
for
okay.
approval.
Okay,
I
there you
mean, that should work,
that's
That's
fine.
fine,
That's
absolutely.
fine.
okay? So.
Thanks, Doug.
I have nothing to do with the minutes, so.
Okay, so we have no minutes to approve, and Doug will reconstruct them based on the video. Okay. Treasurer's report.
That would be me. I have nothing new to report because I have not yet signed the paperwork to be invested in that office yet.
Okay,
I got that information.
we're gonna do that
Yeah.
tonight. Okay, so we'll do the review next in August.
I usually touch on the accounts payable,
Okay,
so.
then let's slide into your chief's report.
Okay,
We could still do that under the treasurer's report.
yeah, the accounts payable,
Payable.
I usually do that under the treasurer's report.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all we-
Right here, right?
And then we
Outstanding
talk about
collectibles.
outstanding collectibles.
Right, but he's not the treasurer, so it's
Right,
for
so-
me, it's learning
How we do it.
how you do it.
So I review accounts payable on here. I usually take and I'm gonna just point out a couple things on here. So, on the top, you're gonna see the Stephen Davis on page 1, of the accounts payable. That was for the rest of the drone upgrade that we did. There's 2 pieces left. This, and I think there's a $140 one that I just got on my desk. So that should take care of all the drone upgrades.
Was the drone budgeted for, was that a
The
planned
drone
purchase?
came out of some of the donation money.
Okay,
And then the drone upgrade, half of it came out of that donation money, and then the association got money donated, Ellen, and then half of that came out of there also. They split the cost with us. So, and then just the Webster's EMS week and the Rotary Club were here. We had a Rotary Club fire safety luncheon for 25 people.
and where is that?
Rotary Club luncheon?
Rotary?
Yeah, under Webster's.
Oh, okay,
There was food for EMS week and the Rotary Club lunch, safety luncheon for 25 people.
okay.
that's, everything else is kind of just,
You have Webster's in a couple of places, right? That you're talking about the one in the middle of the page. Webster's is also near the top for training, rehab, water.
water, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of water from there. So, but that's it. Nothing, everything else is self-explanatory, I think.
Okay. Are there any questions for the chief?
Battery operated tripod lights, is that one?
Oh.
Replacement or?
No, addition. And actually, I have that one highlighted, I'm sorry, I skipped that one. But our last fire, we realized we needed a couple more of them, so that's why we went out and got them. So,
Any other questions? Okay, is this an action item then?
Yes.
you just approve the accounts payables.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to accept the accounts payable.
I'll make a motion
Thank
to
you,
accept
Gary.
the accounts payable.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'll vote. Any discussion?
Well, we're just accepting them into the report, to be clear, especially because now we're new here. We're not, when we make a motion accepting them, we're not accepting that everything is 100% accurate. That's on you, right? Like, we as board are not saying that we're verifying everything. We're just basically.
Yes, we are.
Well, we don't have the ability to, we don't have the receipts. My understanding is when you accept this, you're saying I accept it into the notes.
No.
No?
You're accepting payment of public funds for invoices occurred by the fire district. Now, what you're talking about is basically a forensic audit, which the auditors, they don't do a forensic audit. The auditors will come in for this fiscal year and do it next year. We're still waiting for the audit from last year. You're approving paying these bills. That's what you're doing. It's not like the League of Women Voters.
No, I just, I need to get my information, correctly. I had someone once say to be careful, actually from the county board, to say that, that you are not approving necessarily, because it's already been spent. So we're not approving it because it's
Yes,
already
you
been.
are.
But it's already been spent.
But you're approving the
We have to approve.
We're approving the
expenditure.
report.
No, you're not. You're approving the expenditures.
To pay the
Okay.
bills.
As long as we're saying as a board, we are accountable to that.
We are.
Okay?
We are.
I had someone explain to me, but maybe I need to understand it better.
And I don't know who told you that from the Fond du Lac County Board, but they are incorrect. I worked for Fond du Lac County for 6 years as Director of Administration. We paid the bills, but the county board, as this board has, the fiscal responsibility. We have the power of the purse. So yes, we are approving these expenditures.
I pay the bills, you guys just approve them.
We are
Right, but
approving
we
the
have to approve.
You
expenditures.
have to, yeah, you just approve the expenditures. It's not your job to pay the bills, it's my job. It's your
Right,
job.
we're authorizing your expenditures.
Correct. Yes.
Does that help?
Yeah.
It's not, this isn't fluff. What we're doing is authorizing the payment of the bills. In order to keep your credit rating, they have to pay the bills on time, whether it's net 10, net 15, or net 30. What we're doing after the fact is approving those expenditures. We're not approving the report, we're approving the expenditures.
Isn't that the same thing you do at the city level?
Well, yeah,
I mean,
yeah. You do it that way at the county level also.
Right, but I'm saying, like, under the police department or whatever, you're not.
Yes.
It's the same exact thing.
It's the
Okay.
same exact thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know, if you want to talk to the person from the county level that you talk to, have them come to me as
No, that makes sense. I think that, and I like the level of accountability there. So I'm not questioning that. I just thought as a matter of point of clarification, but I stand corrected.
No, it's a good point of clarification. It's like at the city level, you have a mayor and the administrative team. These guys are the administrative team here. Okay? We are the legislative group. Legislative group has fiduciary responsibility and authority.
I agree. Sounds good.
Power of the purse.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Okay, I think we need a vote.
We do.
And we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, Chief, is there a status report on outstanding collectibles? Or
Yeah,
any write-offs?
I talked to Barb today, and she sent the last statements out for the unpaid collectibles dated May 31st. We send them out periodically, we don't send them out monthly, usually it's every other month. And then at some point, they go to collections. I don't know what that point is, how long it is, I'd have to ask Jim, because Jim always handled that end of it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think we usually prepare to send them out during income tax time to try to get an intercept on some of these.
Oh, for guaranteeing wages?
That's what we've done.
So like if they're getting a refund, we might get some of it back if they're ignoring us.
But from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been here longer, but the tax intercept, we haven't done that for the collectibles, have we?
I thought we had.
Yeah. Quite a while ago.
Okay.
I don't know if it's done us any good, but
I think if you can talk to Jim on that, Mr. Iverson,
Okay.
because I don't know. I just know we send them out and we don't get the return that we should.
Well, no, you never do, you only get a percentage.
Right.
If you get a percentage, there's a percentage of what you get, and then, are you sending out the guarantee, or are you having a TPA, do it, a third party administrator?
No, Barb sends
does it,
all of it
okay.
out.
You never get
we-
100%.
No, and I did talk to Barb today about going to a billing agency, kind of like EMS did,
Then you'll
but
get less.
we're not sure that we have that volume to really.
Right, you
to
get
do it.
less because they'll take a percentage also. So you have a lesser percentage who pay, and then of that, you'd get even a lesser percentage.
During inspection time though, I do, I'll do their inspection, I'll say, hey, you have an outstanding bill, this needs to be paid, I'm here to do your inspection. And that kind of
Follow-up is good.
helps them do it. I don't tell them I'm not gonna do their inspection. If they don't do it, it's helping. It helps the situation a little bit in the past. So that's that. So statements about, if you could talk to Mr. Jim Wirch about the collectible end of it, because I can't answer that, Doug.
Okay.
Doug and I have the shared revenue spreadsheet from Jim, and I will update it when I get the shared revenue numbers from the local municipalities. Have you guys gotten them yet from the state?
I don't believe so.
It's usually after July 1st. So hopefully later this month, I'll have that spreadsheet for you at the August meeting. So we can look at the levy levels from the town of, I never say it right, Nebiescum.
Yeah, you said it, right?
Did I?
It's an
Yes.
N at the end, not an M.
Nebiescum. Okay. Town of Ripon and the city of Ripon, and the percentages that they all do. Okay, are there any other questions about outstanding collectibles?
It's interesting to note that they're all over 150, which leads me to believe.
We're not getting any of it.
Makes me think that a lot of them were like waiting for insurance and then just paused. I don't know if that's.
Some, but there are, I can't say who on there, but there's been one that said, we're not paying. I mean,
There's
it's-
always that.
Yeah, so.
It's like casting a play.
But I think, if we give it a couple months here through inspections, that hopefully we'll see some of that return.
Okay, chief's report?
Yeah, as far as the calls, we did only 22 calls this month. Usually our average is about 30 to 35, or 30 plus. We gave mutual aid twice and we didn't receive it at all, but with total calls for the year, 173. So we were kind of busy, but now we just took a step back, so we're kind of maybe 20 calls ahead of where we were last year at this point.
So are these all calls that come through dispatch?
Yes.
Because last month there was a section for other calls. What are those? No, nothing?
No.
All your calls come through dispatch?
Yes.
Nobody calls direct?
Well, I mean, people have called direct, but that still ends up going through dispatch.
Okay.
So-
Because I need the staff, if you want me to write grants, I'm going to need statistics on how many calls come through dispatch.
All of our calls come through dispatch, whether they come in here first
Uh-huh.
and we call dispatch and tell us, make a call for that, or, you know, yeah, but all the calls come through dispatch eventually. We do get a lot of calls that come in here, you know, for gas leaks or whatever, ambulance calls even. But we, obviously, we go through dispatch for those.
That's good, because call volume will be important when we start writing grants. Okay. What else do you have for us?
The inspection update, so we use Firehouse software right now. Firehouse software is no longer going to be Firehouse software after December 31st. So we've been really working on trying to go, we were going to go with a state one that's free, the free software through Image Trend, but that doesn't give us everything we need. They got you because if you get everything we need now, we have to pay for it. So, so we did, the city fire and North Fond du Lac Fire are just leaving Image Trend and going, North Fond du Lac leaving Image Trend, the city's leaving Firehouse, obviously, because Firehouse won't be
The
anymore.
city of,
City Fond du Lac.
okay.
So in talking to them, they looked at two different ones. ESO, which is basically taking the place of Firehouse software, and a different company. And we've been going through this for about the last month. So we're gonna go with, right now, ESO, which is a different software. There's a little bit of a startup cost there. I haven't got all the figures on it yet, but they said within the next month, we should be able to have our software built out for
So
us.
I have a question. Did this board approve this software purchase?
No, we don't, that's not, I just purchased that. I don't, that's a budgeted item, that's not for, I don't
Okay.
come to you and ask what software to purchase. That's up
And you
for
didn't
us
go
to
out
decide.
for a request for proposals?
No, we don't do that. There's two companies that we're looking at, and those are the software companies. One of those we're gonna use. So, we don't, I believe the fire district doesn't even have to go out for bid for anything.
Depending on that, I don't know. I think it might depend on how much it was it?
How much is it?
I think it's right around $4,000, $4,500, something like that. I just said I don't have the exact cost on it, we're still working on that. But that's, again, that's an operational thing I haven't in the past and I wouldn't bring to the board, but.
I find that curious. So, and I'm used to working with bigger budgets and government, and typically we go out for RFP for those things, but you've not done that before? Interesting, okay.
But this goes back to the previous conversation of how are we really approving it if it's already being spent? What are we gonna say? Go back and don't spend it anymore?
Well, we're all learning here.
Yeah.
That's in his budget. That's,
Software's in it.
Yeah, there's a
So when you
software
put the
item in
budget
it.
together, you put this up?
There's an item, a line item where that he
Okay.
has
It's
for his.
operations.
It's operations, under operations, and so under operations, it's basically a big pot.
Should-
And we don't have to list out in there that, you know, X amount of dollars for this or X amount of dollars for that, even though we do.
Okay.
When we do make the budget, it doesn't have to be spent for that because it's on the operations part of the budget. So we
Okay.
don't have we run out of a line item, we don't have to go ask you for your approval to keep spending money.
Okay.
We just let you know that, you know,
right, we don't have to readjust.
right, you
that
don't have to readjust the
Until you
budget.
tap out your operations budget.
Right.
You tap that out, then you come and ask.
That makes
Then
sense.
that's a
Yeah,
problem.
then that's a problem, yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Okay, I lost my train of thought here. So, as far as project updates, you guys saw the garage outside is really taking shape. If you haven't seen it, go take a look at it. Staffing update, nothing's changed there. And nobody's left recently, and we haven't hired any additional staff, either part-time or paid on call. Call volume, we already talked about. And that's all I have for now, unless you guys have questions.
Can I ask a question about the garage?
About what?
About the garage?
Sure.
Have we, shared with the family, how is it, that, I assume they know it's obviously moving forward and, the family that helped donate the money for this. I mean, have we informed them?
No, there was no stipulation to that. We did talk about, somebody talked about putting a plaque on it afterwards, but I think, no, we
But
haven't.
they know they know that money is getting used for it.
Correct.
Have they been down here to look at the garage?
I don't know, but I think,
But they've been informed.
but more
Yes.
important,
Yeah.
Yeah.
more importantly is getting them at the end to say, here, this is what your donation went for, here's your plaque, or whatever. So, but it's coming along nicely, and that's all I have on that. Unless you guys got questions.
Any questions for the chief? Okay, old business. Does everybody?
Can we take a step back for 1 second to inspections? Let's talk about inspections
Sure.
for a minute. So basically, I've always had a part-time helper inspectors. So the day one when I came here, I had Paul Traverti and Heather Donovan helping me with inspections. They were like my part-time inspectors. At that point, when I came on the board, and I think you guys would remember this, one of the things that the board said, that tasked me with when I first came here was, we're always told we need another full-time employee. Evaluate that and let us know what you think. Well, I've always had those 2 part-time employees. So what we're going to do is we are going to start doing company inspections. Out of all the part-time people we've hired, a lot of those people are certified inspectors. So company inspections are going to do 2 things. It's going to have the firefighters get to know the buildings a lot more. And at the same time, seeing that staffing is here, those part-time inspectors, I won't have to pay them to be here also when so we're kind of combining the resources, and where I'm not paying those 2 part-time inspectors to help out. We're doing it as a company inspection. So just want to let you guys know that's how we're going to move forward from here. I will still be doing inspections, just like I had before. I try to do the majority of them, but
And you do, and the department does what, 400 a year?
over 400.
Over 400, because you're
Yeah.
doing them for the city of Ripon?
The town of Ripon.
Town of Ripon.
And town of
and-
Nepiescon, which I think there's 2. Not a lot. Or there's 2, or there might be 1 even now. Log cabin and,
Vines Rushes.
oh, Vines and Rushes, I'm sorry. Vines and Rushes,
Leave that auto.
log cabin, and the auto's not done anymore. Because wasn't an auto shop for the last few years. It was,
Sounds like that road.
okay. Yeah, I can talk to you more about that later, but there's been some
We haven't-
controversy.
Have I got anything, but somebody somebody bought it, or something.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of incidents out there, but, yeah, that's for another time.
So did you say did you just say that you're going to have the part-time staff do some of the inspections because they're also trained?
Correct.
Maybe explain what the company, you kept saying the
So,
company.
so company inspections are very popular when you have a staff station. Those guys go out and they'll spend 2 hours a day or whatever, 3 hours a day doing inspections. Okay, that's very common in the staff fire departments, and it's called company inspections because when they go out there, they're learning about the buildings, and that's always our paid on call work those shifts also. So those paid on call are always wanting to go out in the buildings, but they just don't have the time to do it. We only train twice a month. So this is getting them out there also. And it's good because it's our officers. Most of them are officers that are working that for the paid on call side. But, so that's kind of what it is. But I won't be having, like, for instance, those people won't be here working, and Lieutenant Mum is out doing an inspection when those guys could be doing it, and I won't have to pay Lieutenant Mum to do it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm hoping to save that little bit of money so that it can be used towards that staffing.
It sounds like a good creative use of time and saving and resources is there a concern where, and I don't know the individuals that are the part-time, what their future view is, but is there a concern that maybe they're, I don't know what their long-term, or like, I don't know if they're more local, they come into the area. Do we want to make sure that the people that are going out to the businesses are also making those relationships?
First of all, I need to be the face of the fire inspections,
Yeah.
okay? I need to be the face of the community, I get that. We're going to train on what my expectations of them are and how things are handled. It's not like it's not a free-for-all. They're not going out and doing this on their own, that they're not doing what their expectations given to them are. What else was I going to say? We're the only department our size that doesn't have a full-time chief and a full-time inspector, okay? Or 2 or 3 people full-time. So I'm trying to work with one full-time person and a couple staff members part-time. This is where the department's probably been lacking for a long time, is there's only one person. And I think we can go back to before I was here. You guys were here before I was here. You were the ones who hired me. So kudos to you.
I was gonna say, don't put the blame on us.
But
I think he just did.
so I just,
Pretty well, too. It's pretty smooth.
so I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we know what's going on. So,
Prior
new program,
to you coming, we had an outside agency that was doing our fire inspections for us.
which
But
was
we had to pay them.
And we had to pay them, yes.
which was not a good relationship for the department and the district and the citizens at all. And so when I did come here, I had a lot of rebuilding of that relationship to do, and I think I've done a pretty good job there. And, it's not an iron fist. I mean, we had an apartment complex a couple weeks ago that all of a sudden their fire alarm's not working. Well, we can't have you live there without a fire alarm. I can't do that. So that had to be an iron fist type thing where you're gonna get somebody out here today. I'm sorry it's Saturday. I'm sorry it's gonna cost you more. It's either that or you're gonna pay us for a fire watch, and we're only gonna do that for 24 hours. So that's all I have for inspections.
I think that's a lot.
I can keep.
No, you don't need to keep up.
Can I just ask a specific? Understanding that you're trying to be the face of the department.
Yeah.
But ignoring that, you said you have actual people that have the same inspection level of training. So
Yeah.
logistically, they could do all 400. You just do them.
Logistically, realistically, they could.
They could, I'm just saying. So
Yeah.
you doing it is just to be a face of the department for the community.
Well, and it's important for me to be out there. It's important for me to do inspections too. I get that. But I also have a lot of other responsibilities to do too,
Yeah.
And again, when you look at departments our size, we are lacking in full-time staffing, period, administratively.
Sure.
And so that's where this part-time program helped us out too. And again, I wish I would have dreamt this part-time program up 9 years ago, but there wasn't a need for it back then. Now there's a need, so we might as well make the best of it and try to save some of that money from having, one of our lieutenants out doing it when there's people working that day. So,
Any other questions? We're going to move on to old business. When I started 2 months ago, the chief gave me this handy dandy book. Do you all have this handy dandy book?
What's the name of it? I can't see it.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, you've been here longer than me.
What we're looking at is a policies and procedures manual.
Yeah.
I think I have an email copy of it. I don't think I have.
yeah,
When we first
I
started.
provided you
when we
both
first
with that.
started. So if it's updated, I'd like a new one.
It's not.
Okay.
I think would help with a lot of the budgeting questions that we ask and other procedural questions. So I just wanted to mention that. So is there any other old business?
Well, we're talking about the bylaws. So some of you remember this, but when we went to the part-time staffing program, we had to change the bylaws, to change the residency, to change some terminology in there. You guys were part of that. And at that point, the board had directed myself and Tom Moniz to work through taken sections of that, where Tom and I would work through it, and then those recommendations from Tom and I would come back to you guys for approval to update them, to work on getting that updated, basically. Because there are a lot of old things in there that we don't do anymore, that we haven't done in 10 years since I've been here. So that's where the policy procedure manual needs to be updated. And that's district policies. There may be some things in there like operational, little things that,
Very
little.
There should be very few operational items in there that should.
the operational SOGs or standard operating guidelines or standard operating procedures are for us in-house. That's the district, that's the meat and bones of the district.
Are
If that
are
makes
your
sense.
fee structures still the same
Nope.
in here? So this does have to be updated?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And what's your timeline for that?
I will talk to Tom and get a timeline for that, but I think it's going to be a long process to go through that whole thing. So we'll probably take bits and pieces of it, you know what I mean? Like next meeting, I'll bring this part forward. The next meeting, I'll bring
Okay.
this part forward. And then you guys can either approve it or say, we go back to the drawing board. I want this, you needed to say this, so.
Yeah, this is pretty.
And the part of the reason that Tom and the board wanted Tom and I to work through this that way was because the board meet once a month. And it's hard to take that time to redo all the bylaws.
It's not customary for boards to read the
Correct.
bylaws.
And that's what the other thing that attorney had said. So that's why we're working through it and we'll bring it back to you.
Okay.
We haven't done much with it in the last 6 months,
Maybe start with the fees, chief.
but, okay.
Start with the fees, so we can see the fees. That'll help us with, because there isn't a new agenda item on here about, I just want to have a general discussion about revenues. And then next month, we'll discuss expenditures for some folks who don't understand government financing, because this is a quasi-governmental body. So,
Would it be smart to just make sure we all, because I'm not sure I have the most up-to-date one. Could it just be resent out to the whole board, the electronic copy?
Of the old ones?
Or, I mean, of the
Of this
current,
one.
of whatever the most
this is
current one
from
is.
2014 or 15.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any adjustments since then.
But I didn't want to just resend it out to everybody.
That has not been updated since I've been here, and I came in 2013.
Okay. All right.
We changed a few things, like what people come, we expanded to be a fireman, we expanded the
Well, that's by
area.
state law, too.
And that part of the bylaws has been updated
Right, there's a few
with
things.
Tom
that have been
and
updated,
legally.
Yeah.
and-
But most
so-
of it has not.
So maybe start with the fee structure so that we can see the fee structure
Okay.
for budgeting. That would be my most urgent request. So, yeah, under Governor Walker, he got rid of residency requirements for all governmental entities. So what Tom did was just make it consistent with state law. All right.
What we had to do it in order to get those part-time people in here too.
And there was a lot of talk about, the pay-on-call eligibility requirements versus the part-time eligibility requirements. I think that's a lot of what's
Okay.
the meat and potatoes of it.
And age of firefighters, we changed that.
Correct.
So why not just send it out, or is it more difficult?
Do you have it electronically?
I had to have, I know I sent it to you though.
Yeah, I don't have a paper copy. I had a digital copy from you at some point.
Can you send it
Yeah, I'll
to
look
me?
through. I think it's probably in our old email, so I have to, yeah.
Okay.
Because they switched to like a new city email, so.
Yeah, I pushed for that from a legal standpoint.
And I haven't gone back to my old one since then, so I'll have
You
to,
shouldn't.
Okay.
I'll look for it tonight. I'll send it to you.
I know I have it, I just mean, isn't it good if we all just have the same something to do?
I have that copy.
I was gonna say, you should have it. The ones who've been
I
here
think
should have it.
yeah, okay.
Okey dokey. Any other old business? Let's move on to new business, because we're going to discuss the budgeting. And I'll start, because then I'll need the chief to help fill in some of the areas. So I talked earlier about the spreadsheet that Jim Wirtz used to take care of. And it's a spreadsheet with the equalized value of the 3 municipalities that make up the fire district. And Ripon has a 77% responsibility for levy, and this is levy. This is the levy that we get property tax dollars, and that comes from the levy. The levy is based on the value of property in the community, and the state determines that by equalized value or new growth. Fond du Lac County never has, you can do 3% or new growth. We have to take 3% because we never have new growth over 3%. Ripon never has new growth above 3%. Ergo, the fire district never has revenues, tax revenues over 3% from those entities. Now, Ripon does 77% of the funding for this. What does the town of Ripon do?
It's approximately 18.
18? And so then, because my brain's not doing numbers right now.
And
They
there
were like
was
4 point something
Okay.
percent, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay. So that's where that levy comes from. Does that help people understand where those tax dollar numbers come from? Okay. So then the other things that your sources of revenue are your inspections. And they inspect 400 plus properties a year. And the inspections are then, now you have to help me on this, Chief. There are some inspections that people pay for out of pocket, and then there are, what goes on the property tax?
The building inspections
The
go on the
building
property
inspections.
taxes.
Go on property taxes.
Correct. So for example, if there's a new building being built and there's a sprinkler system and they need a hydro test, we go out, you do that hydro test, there's a charge for that. They get a charge for that.
Okay.
The fire, just recently, the fireworks tent, there's a charge for that, fire inspection. So when we go out and do those things, those are special charges in the fee structure that, above and beyond what's on the tax roll.
Okay, so what they have to do annually are those inspections that go on the tax roll, that's over and above the levy. This is, because these are fees. Fees are not tax levy. It's another form of revenue. So that goes on the tax bill. And those those inspections have to be submitted prior to November 1st, because what happens is the county does their budget in November. Once the county does their budget, the local municipal governments can do their annual budgets. That then determines what kind of a property tax bill you're going to get. MPTC is the same way. The school district is the same way. The fire district has to have those inspections into, where do you give those to? Each municipality?
We give it to what used to be Anna City Hall. So she gets our
The clerk.
inspection report, and then the townships get theirs also.
Okay, so in order for those fees to be captured, they have to be on the property tax bill. The city of Ripon, my understanding is in the past, has paid for those, whether or not they were completed. They will no longer do that. So they have to be completed and submitted to the clerks prior to November 1st, so we can capture all the revenue from those.
Can you say that again?
The city will only reimburse the district for the inspections done and submitted prior to November 1st. It's been a change in policy.
Oh, I was not aware
They
of that.
didn't tell you that?
No,
Oh,
because we've had to have it there by November 5th in the past, I believe. And between the 1st and the 5th, and then we always had till the end of the year to get it done. The inspection's done
That
because it
stopped.
was on the tax.
Yeah, that stopped. They're not going to pay that anymore. If they are not done and submitted to the clerk prior to November 1st,
Okay.
you will not be paid for them.
Okay, I did not, nobody's told me that.
That's my understanding.
Okay,
You might want to, check with Adam, but that's my understanding.
okay.
So you have levy, and then you have the inspections. And that includes all of your fees. Is there another revenue source other than maybe grants or bequests,
Calls,
calls?
fire calls, inspection fees, fire prevention fees,
Like these.
um,
Okay.
and, what did you just ask me? You said something else.
Are these-
Oh, the state fire dues, and miscellaneous revenue if we did a class or something like that. I think that's all of them.
So, and how frequently do you receive bequests?
For what?
People giving you money?
Just one.
Just the one that you got
No,
last year?
we get some donations here and there.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you what the frequency of that is.
But we really don't go and ask for that, do we?
It's
I mean,
hidden.
it's
No,
not
we don't
really-
ask for donations.
A lot of times.
Well, we would take them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something to explore in the future. I'm gonna put that on a future.
Explore
Bequests.
that we request donations.
No request them, we just let people know we would accept them.
Oh, okay. I mean, we do the fundraisers, we do the raffles, we do
Right.
that type of stuff through the
Right.
association.
Right.
So, but
Now, how, have you written grants in the past? And what's your success rate with that?
personally, one. And it wasn't here, it was previously in
Okay.
another department.
Okay.
And then, but we use a local grant writer to help us with our grants. So since here, we've gotten a grant for all new pagers. I had to look in my grant folder to see what else is in
Something
there.
from for the breathing apparatus and things.
We got a grant for the gas meter, we got a grant for, I'd have to look at the
Some years
grants
back,
had.
we did get some for
For what?
SCBA, for the breathing
Part of the
apparatus.
breathing.
Yeah, that was about, what, 3 years ago?
We didn't get a grant for that.
No.
Didn't you get a grant for
We
the
applied
fence
for a
fence?
grant.
That came out of our pocket.
We
I
applied for it.
would have to get you what grants.
It's okay, I was
We've
just
had-
asking because sometimes, like, we need new equipment, and that's probably needs to be, now, when you buy new equipment and order it, do we put that on the agenda for approval to,
It depends what it is.
well, like a
If I'm,
big truck, big fire truck?
if we're ordering a fire engine?
Yeah.
I'm not buying a fire engine.
Okay.
You are. Because I don't want to get fired.
Well, hold on, it's because
So-
it's not in the budget, right, like right now.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
If it's,
Well, I think that brings us to another discussion between the capital budget and the operations
Yeah.
budget. And that would come out of a capital budget.
if something is capital,
Mm-hmm.
you guys approve that expenditure. If it's in my operations budget, that's all me. And-
Well, we approve the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But spending and so on and so forth, that's in my operations budget. But yeah, if it's capital, or if it's buying a new engine, or we bought air packs, that's, how are we gonna finance that? What are we gonna do? That's a board decision, that's not mine.
What funds are in the capital improvement, the capital budget right now?
I can't answer that.
Okay, can we get that at the next meeting?
Shouldn't it be on here, Barry? Should be on here, shouldn't it?
Because,
The capital budget?
Yeah.
so you don't give a report on the capital and the operations at every meeting?
Well, if you look at this thing, it's got percentage of budgets, like the expenditures, the budget.
Uh-huh.
So it lists what he spent, what percentage of the budget's gone.
You're looking
But
at the
that's
operations
operations,
budget.
I'm talking about the capital
No,
budget.
No, the capital is in here also somewhere. It's supposed to-
Yeah, it's on page 5 and
Yeah, I have it right here.
6, I believe.
But I don't give anything on capital because there's nothing being bought or anything on capital. You guys are the ones that, you discuss that and you discuss are those funds gonna be spent or not for capital projects. So I just give you my operational rundown and that's it.
Okay, so then next month we can, because I think you have to buy, you're looking to buy some equipment at some point in the future, because we need to develop a 5-year capital improvement plan too, and part of that is looking at how we're going to get the revenues for that. Okay, I'm with you. So then the other thing, the last thing I was going to share is that there's a bright line between the capital fund and the operations fund, and you never commingle those funds. Never. Now, I know for Jonathan and Jolene, that might be, you've been on the city council for what, a year?
2 years.
2 years?
So less
So
than a year for me.
you know that,
Mm-hmm.
correct? Okay. Doug
Are you
knows.
suggesting that this would be would flesh this out, like as part of the agenda in the future? You actually just say capital?
I think not every month. I think if the chief tells us he needs equipment, we have a responsibility to look at how to fund that equipment and the timeline for purchasing that equipment.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I did provide a capital plan at one point of equipment replacement, like whether it was a concrete apron or capital projects and purchases, but it's never gone anywhere. We've never done anything with it.
Well, I think
So-
we need to resurrect that. And then, because how long, like your trucks are really old, right?
One's really old, the other one's getting old.
What's considered old for a timeline?
Really, what's considered old, more than 20.
Okay.
What's considered really old, 30.
Okay, good to know. Because we're looking at vehicles that have to be replaced, but it's like a roof on a house. You can do a 20 to 30, hopefully not 30-year timeline, but that should be in a 5-year capital improvement plan, so we know what purchases need to come up and what kind of monies we need to raise. Does that make sense?
And if we're talking capital, like equipment we need to purchase, what's happened is we need to purchase an engine for a long time. Engine 11 needs to be replaced for a long time. But the rapid response vehicle at one point really helped save the wear and tear on that engine for a long time. So it was good. We didn't have the money for it. We didn't have to worry about it. But what it's done is kind of put us behind an 8 ball. And I had this discussion with Adam because now it's almost 2 years before you get an engine. If you order an engine today, you're not looking at it for 2 years. Okay, and the price of an engine before was $500,000 to $700,000. Now it's probably $700,000 to $800,000. The ladder truck was $981,000. So, again, prices have gone up. Demand has gotten there. A lot of places are locking in at their prices now because the longer they're waiting, that's why it keeps getting pushed off to 2 years from now. 2 years to order a fire engine, that's unheard of. So, yeah.
So my sense is there's a bit of an urgency in discussing that because of the need to replace that equipment. So we'll put that on the agenda for next time. Does that work for everybody?
You're talking, for agenda items for future meetings, we are saying that the 5-year capital improvement plan would be an agenda item. Correct?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And it may get rolled into the 5-year fire district plan, but I think there's a more sense of urgency about that 5-year capital improvement plan because we need to order, there needs to be an order placed. We won't get the vehicle for 2 years, which gives us 2 years of fundraising for that.
And if you lock in at the price now, you're not gonna, because
Yeah.
I don't see it getting any cheaper. I just don't. So,
All right. All right. Any questions about revenue sources? Does what I shared help at all, Jolene?
I like how you look at me,
About
because I have
revenues?
questions. I always have questions, and I always think also for people watching. I mean, this is our responsibility to make sure people are understanding it, and I appreciate the information you share.
Okay, and it makes sense.
if you
Yes.
have questions, I mean,
Well, government funding, people get elected and they don't understand how government is financed.
I think I have an understanding.
Good.
I didn't realize I asked something to make myself sound like I didn't.
No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. I meant, I've done this a long time, and I know that people sit on like the county board and they don't understand funding.
Yeah.
They think it's sort of magical. The public certainly does. They don't understand the challenges that municipal governments have in funding operations and capital.
No, and just for the record, I think that's always, moving forward, I appreciate the information that is provided, and I like the transparency, and I hope it continues. I think that's nice.
Maybe this is going back, this is a small question, but like Airbnbs, bed and breakfast, stuff like that, do you do the fire inspections for those? I see you laughing, like I'm asking.
I'm not laughing.
I think that's a really
I'm
good
thinking.
question.
We do not. We do not.
You
So-
don't because you're not required to, right? But I know this has come up in Green Lake, right? I know they've debated this in Green Lake.
Yeah. So we do not do Airbnbs. We do not do rental units that are duplexes. And we don't do single-family residences. So, and some of those apartment complexes that have, I'm trying to think of one, I got a million of them in town, but one that doesn't, like Oak Street Apartments, for example, or the apartments on Oak Street, Oak Manor, or whatever it is, those apartments have all single individual, you knock on this door, you're knocking on the person's apartment. There is no common areas. So we do an exterior inspection of those only, and we try to do as much as we can. But we don't go in personal residences without being invited in. Airbnbs, there's a lot of departments that do them, and there's a lot that don't. So, and I can look more into that, and that would have to be a change in ordinance also with the city and townships that, the fire district does Airbnb inspections.
You have Airbnbs in the town of Ripon, don't you? Isn't there one out off of Cork Street Road between E?
Well, this begs another question, because they're not required to report it to you, are they? Or do you have something where how would you necessarily?
I don't have.
That's part of the problem. Is
Yeah.
a lot of places, if they don't know about it, how are you ever gonna know?
Well,
So,
and the long and short of it is, at a city level, we're talking about changing the ordinance and allowing more people to start doing the suite style, right? Like you add on
Yeah,
and you can start
verbal,
renting that.
the RVOs and,
you
yep.
know, my fear in that, not that I want to throw government at people, is that, like, what's to say, like, I remember where my wife used to live in Berlin. It's a marvel that house didn't burn down. Like, every day, it was just amazing. I have no idea how it's still there. So I see that at Ripon, if we just open up the ordinance to allow more people to start renting out, this little room off the side of their house.
But aren't we licensing them to do that? It's not like free reign, they have to register as an
Yeah.
Airbnb, or
But
they have to.
then, I don't know if they had to get the fire inspection, and that would be a source of
if
revenue.
it's a licensed business in the city of Ripon, town of Ripon, or town of Nebraska,
Then they would have to.
they by statute, they need to have a fire
Okay.
extinguisher.
Because my sense is we're moving toward standardizing B&Bs and Airbnbs and VRBOs. Again, migraine, with registering with the city so that we know who's operating, because then I think also that they can capture room tax revenue.
Okay, but inherent in that would be a fire inspection then, because they would have to register.
It should be.
Okay.
It would be.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Okay. Any other questions? I guess I'm not gonna make my hour. Signatory status for Doug and myself.
Yep, I did talk to Barb today, and she is available this week, anytime except Thursday morning, and next week, Wednesday, she's available. So you guys pick and we'll all meet together.
I'll come in tomorrow morning. Do you wanna do it tomorrow morning, Doug?
Let me just take a look. What time?
Is it 10 o'clock okay, Chief?
That's fine.
Okay, 10 o'clock. All right, and discussion.
So 10 a.m. tomorrow?
Yep, for both of us.
Okay.
Discussion and action of a 5-year district plan. I'm a planner by nature. We talked about this a little bit last month, and you may have been talking about it for a long time before I came. But it would be helpful, I think, if we did a 5-year strategic plan. And I think we should vote. I don't think, have you voted on it before at all?
No.
Okay. So I think we should vote on it, and then we should decide if we want, we can do it any way we want. I don't know that we have the budget to hire a firm.
I'm gonna say probably not.
So we may want to come back next August, at our meeting in August, with 2 names of people that you would suggest.
What are you talking about?
A 5-year strategic plan for
So
operations.
what is that gonna be? What do you want in that?
Well, where are we gonna go in 5 years? How are we gonna staff? How are we gonna pay for the district? What kind of equipment are we gonna need?
Okay, I can see going with the, I mean, it's just me, but it's just, it's just like the fire trucks. One's gonna be 30 years old. Maybe we should have replaced it. But it still works. It passes all its tests and everything else. So you put all this stuff in a plan, in my estimation, a lot of times you're just throwing money away. I mean, you know, everybody looks at things different. But sometimes it's nice to have maybe we need to just be budgeting to go into our capital fund to take care of this kind of stuff. I mean, I would assume the city must be putting somebody away for a fire truck. If they aren't, maybe they should.
The money that the city kicks in to the capital improvement fund is the city's contribution to the fire trucks. There is nothing else.
What's that again?
The money that the city gives here,
The
for
77% of
the
the,
77%
For operation.
is not all operational. It is for operations and the capital improvement fund for the fire engine. So it's taking the money out of it, putting it behind the 8 ball. We need to have this done because, yes, the engines work now until they don't, like the old ladder truck. Then Homeland Security came and said, you're done with it. And then it was a mad scramble to get another one. That is stupid in my estimation. So we need to begin, this is when we're going to replace this truck and we're not going to dink around. 6 years ago, I was sitting in here and you were talking about it. And it was, okay, so when are we going to start planning? When are we going to sit down with the city and when we're going to figure this out? When are we going to order a truck? What are we going to do? Nothing happened. And so what's going to happen is that truck will run and then until one day it doesn't run anymore and then we're down an engine.
So you're telling me that when you pay your portion of the fire district budget,
Right.
you think that's going into capital fund?
No, I don't think. I know some of it's for operation and some of it's for the capital improvement fund. I don't think, I know.
I don't think there's any goes in the capital improvement fund.
I don't believe so
There
either.
isn't.
Where would it come from? Doug, when you look at
Whatever
this
is-
thing,
whatever
where's
has been
the fire
left
district budget?
will go to
It's
a
the
capital
budget he
fund.
puts together,
so you're
and
saying
it's all
if there's
operations.
carryover, it
If there's
goes.
carryover at the end of the year, that goes into
Carryover,
a
and that's
capital.
not always been happening either,
Yes.
and it's supposed to
So
be.
Gary, help me understand your concern.
I don't mind a plan sometimes.
Yeah.
But I get a little, you know, when the town does a plan, we sit down and do a plan.
Right, for how long? For
Huh?
5 years?
Probably not.
No.
Okay.
Okay, but we know we're gonna need a fire truck.
Yeah, but we don't know, yeah, go ahead.
So we've been putting money away for that. We know we're gonna maybe
Right.
need a new tractor. So we
Oh,
put
so
money-
you're saying the town's been putting money aside?
It has, because,
Wow, you do.
and so is UPS.
Okay, let me check, let me talk to
I don't
Adam.
think the city does put it aside.
I don't think they do
And they're in
either.
a, you know, they're in a different,
No.
But,
you guys are in a different place than we are.
okay,
We
well,
cannot,
and I don't know anything.
well, we can't raise our levy unless we ask the people.
Right,
Our
right.
electric-
We've been lucky enough with our people, if we really need something, we gotta build a road or something, we talk to them. We don't have a 5-year plan on the roads we're gonna do. We watch them and we try to take care of them, and when they're shot, we'll do something.
Chief?
So, I'll give an example. When we bought the ladder truck, the township had their money. You guys, they wrote a check for their money, they wrote a check for your money, right? That was the down payment that they used on the ladder truck.
So that you guys could find
The
it.
city, because we don't put any capital funds away, okay? The city finance their portion of it.
Okay, because they could bond for it, or they can do other things to finance it.
Correct.
Because it has a 20 to 30-year life.
Correct. So then, so they did a 5-year finance of that, and I think they paid it off in 3 years.
Okay,
So that's how when we purchase equipment, that's how we've done it in the past.
Okay.
Because we don't have the money to put towards
Okay.
capital improvement.
But-
So that budget that we do is strictly operational budget.
right, and I'm saying we need a 5-year capital, or not a 5-year.
Strategic plan.
Strategic
And
plan.
I think, and I think that,
That's different than the 5-year capital improvement plan.
and Gary, I think that's, just sitting back listening, correct me if
Yep.
I'm wrong.
Jump in.
The 5-year capital plan is, these are things that we need to replace, right? But this 5-year strategic plan is, how are we gonna get there to make this happen?
And how
So
are
give me
operations gonna look?
To give you an example, let's just talk about our staffing for a minute, right? So
We
our
gotta
staffing.
deal with that.
What's that?
We're gonna have to deal with that.
But that's where that strategic plan comes
Yeah.
from. So because
Yeah.
there is an idea on how to pay for that in 2023, okay? But we need to plan now for 2024, right? So that's what the strategic plan is
Yeah.
looking at, is how are we gonna do that? There's different ways, but we need all that information, that critical information, to be able to go to the taxpayers if that's what the boards decide to do. And we need that information. There's gotta be a strategic plan, how to take this and how to get there. So this is the plan, this is the road on how to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it eliminates surprises too. Hopefully it eliminates surprises.
Hopefully.
But it's what he talked about. I'm saying the 5-year capital improvement plan would just be a piece of that. The strategic plan is for the overall. Is like, what happens if we have a growth spurt in Ripon and the fire department needs to increase staffing or needs to increase, because we're looking at a housing study right now that tells us we need X amount of single family and multiple family homes. Then will our population increase? We need to be prepared as a district to address that.
But, and I think that strategic plan, that capital plan can always change.
Yeah,
That capital plan can always,
Every
we can
year.
say, you know what, it changes in government
Yep.
every year.
Every year.
Like,
And we have changed. We
Right,
put
right.
money to the rescue truck,
right, I mean,
bought a command vehicle.
Right.
we
Right.
change things as we go along.
it's just
a guide.
It's a blueprint. It's a guide.
Is what
It's
you're
not
saying. I
hard
think that's
and
what you're
fast.
saying, Alan. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm correct.
And I think the bottom line, really almost every organization needs to have a plan as far as, knowing what to look at. Until we see it in front of us, maybe it'll bring up other ideas. We don't know what we don't know until we don't know, right? And the plan, I think, will help guide our future discussions, it's just a smart idea. So I am 100% in favor of having a 5-year district plan, and I think it'll help guide our future
So
agenda items.
is that a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to move forward with the creation of a 5-year fire district plan.
Strategic plan.
A 5-year fire district strategic plan to start immediately. How do we?
Oh, yeah. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Further discussion on it? Because I think what we need to do, we don't have money for it. So I think what we need to do on our August agenda is talk about how this structure would look. Because most likely, the chief and I have talked about this, we're going to be asking volunteers to do it. Probably retired fire folks, maybe retired law enforcement, retired EMS, a whole variety of people from the town of Ripon, citizens who may want to participate. Nepiescum, and Nepiescum. So, sorry, it's not working. So I'll put it on the agenda for next week. Come in with a couple of people that you think, it could be anybody. Could be a school bus driver or something like that.
Yes, we don't have money to do it.
Right.
So we need the people to help us.
Yes.
There might have to be some funds spent for that though. Like, if it's $5,000, we're gonna need to come up with $5,000.
Yeah, and we can talk about that next week.
But the
or
thing
next
is,
month.
I think that if you have people who want to be part of that, that's fine, but I think that sometimes too big is too many.
Well,
And
yeah.
I think we need to limit those key players if
Yeah.
you're gonna do something like that.
But everybody should have some skin in the game, so I think
Each town and
everybody
city, absolutely.
should suggest folks who might want to participate in this, and then we can talk about any future expenditures. I know some folks from UW Fond du Lac that have retired who can facilitate studies like this, who can kick around some more things and see where we want to go. But right now, we need to vote on whether or not we're going to do a 5-year strategic plan.
Well, and going back to the cost of it, I have in other organizations I've been part of, often when you do pay though for strategic plans, that often you'll show that you save money because usually they're working with other municipalities or organizations, and they can bring ideas and things that ends up paying off, or maybe ways, perhaps even grant ideas or things like that, or ways of doing things to save money. So in some sense, I wish we could at least look at the cost, unless you have some, it sounds like you have some educated people. If we feel confident that you have educated people that can do this, I guess I'm just saying it would be nice to know if it's not that much money. Usually it does pay for itself in the long run.
Is there like a Wisconsin fire? Like,
So
is there
I
best
can,
practices that they
what I can do is I can bounce the idea off the Wisconsin fire chiefs. There's like a mailman thing that goes to all the chiefs, and just say, anybody have a recent strategic plan done, and do you recommend anybody?
And we could probably contact Fearburger, have Adam contact Fearburger, who did the housing study too. Because they may have done a fire study in Reedsburg.
I think if you and I may disagree, I guess we can agree to disagree, but I think that if we're gonna do the fire, we need to focus on fire people.
You don't know that they don't have fire people.
Well, I mean, but you don't know that, but I mean, there's so many of them out there that I think we need to look at, We'll get prices and we'll go from there, I guess, if that's what you want.
Let's bring them in August and talk about it, but I'd like a vote to see if you want to proceed with the 5-year strategic plan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, it passed. We already talked about the Quest money. We did get a communication, Barry's got it here. I think we all received this. I did respond as president, but it came back. This address is not appropriate, it doesn't work for the post office. And I checked on Facebook, this person doesn't seem to really exist, so I'm not sure.
What is it?
It's the letter. Did
Did you get one?
No, but
It's the letter I told you about.
I feel that should be discussed in closed session. It's personnel item.
Not a personnel item, we
Right.
don't know who it
Is that-
is. That's not personnel.
Oh,
This isn't, I don't,
no, I thought it was addressed about issues with the Department of Me from our discussion.
oh,
Well.
yeah, we can discuss it in closed session next month. I mean, I'm not sure it's worth discussing.
Right,
I don't think it's worth discussing.
I don't even.
Has
the email
I think-
that I got?
I don't know if it was an email.
everybody got a letter? I haven't even seen it. That's why we need to
Howard
go.
got a letter.
I got a letter from, so it's interesting that this is an address that doesn't exist, is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
This,
Uh-huh.
this,
Oh,
I think,
this address
I
does
did.
exist.
But it came back, it came back.
That's
I can
strange.
ask, if that has to do anything with personnel issues, that needs to be discussed in closed session. That's all I'm gonna say.
We'll do it next month in closed session then.
Well, why,
Right, but I feel we do need to discuss it.
Okay.
but aren't we
Just out of,
going into closed session?
On another issue.
we are.
If you want to, we can in closed session if it's another personnel issue.
If that's a personnel issue, really, we should discuss it in closed session.
Yeah, I don't consider it a personnel issue, but if you do,
Sounds like somebody's got
I would
an axe
say-
to grind.
I would say.
And I don't think it's fair to wait a month.
okay. We We can discuss it then very, very.
Do we have to do anything to announce we're okay with?
We're discussing two
It's already
personnel
in there.
issues then, in closed session.
Well, it doesn't really say,
I don't see it.
yeah.
It just says close, it's
Regarding
personnel.
consideration of employment of public employee over, that's personnel.
Right, but it doesn't have, it doesn't say it's only one or.
Correct,
two.
it doesn't limit it, you're correct. You're correct. Okay, so for the next meeting, I have, we'll talk about.
Well, you already did the agenda. Did you do number 10? So you, in the
We've already
past-
talked about request money.
No. You said next regular meeting, but we skipped number 10, agenda items for future meetings.
That's what I was talking
She's
about.
talking about.
Oh, I heard you say next regular meeting, which is 11. Sorry.
No,
Said
at the
agenda.
next regular meeting, we were going to talk about the strategic plan and equipment purchase. The chief's going to bring that to us. Is there anything else to add to that agenda? Did you want to talk about policy, employment policy, chief, at the next meeting?
I think that depends how the closed session goes, but
We'll put down employment policy.
Does that go into what we talked about, is updating the policies and procedures manual? You said you're going to bring that
Yes.
forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Policy and procedure. Is there anything else? Our next regular meeting is scheduled for August 2nd. Does that work for everybody? Okay.
It's on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it's
Tuesday.
first Tuesday.
I actually even looked that one up. I didn't have a migraine. Okay, so we're going to adjourn into closed session. If somebody would make a motion, and we'll vote to go into closed session, and then we'll take roll call vote in closed session.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah,
Just formatically, it has us coming out of closed session and adjourning the meeting.
yes,
So technically, he would have to stay.
Yes.
in video. Can we just adjourn the meeting before closed session? So then they can, so he
you
can
want
leave?
to amend the agenda?
Yeah, is that all right?
Yeah, go ahead, make
I
a
think
motion.
probably,
And he doesn't have to stay for like an extra
You don't want
hour.
to stay?
Well, and actually, we're paying for that, right? So, I mean, in some sense, that's a smart way to, I mean, it's small.
So can I make a motion
To amend the agenda.
that we just adjourn open session
In
before
closed-
closed session?
No, you're making a motion to adjourn the meeting in closed session.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn the meeting in closed session.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Thank you, Riley.